taking a picture, so be sure to smile. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So start recording.
You're gonna show up somewhere, so. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. We're gonna get started tonight so we can get rolling. We've got a lot to talk about. Really appreciate you taking the time so that we can really get a feel for what's going on. There's big changes down the horizon. We've been talking about what possible, what are the possibilities about Fire Station 31. Without question, this is a very old facility. Well, if you consider 1983 very old. I remember 1983. Many of you remember 1983, but every time I say, "Oh, you remember when 1980?" I get, some of the younger generation look at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about. When you're really old. So I didn't that anyway. So we got 1983 is when this was built, and the city's changed a lot since then. And in the future, there's definitely some other things that are going to happen. So we want to talk about particularly this location and what's going on, what the future is with this location, but also we want to talk about the fire service in general, kind of what has transpired over the course of the last year. So we've got several from the fire service that will be here. Obviously, if there's a call come in, we may have them jump out all of a sudden, but we really appreciate everybody taking time to be here. We've got people who are also online with us. And as we get to the question and answer period, more than welcome to answer any questions you have. And those people who are online, all you have to do is click the raise hand button and we will get to your questions as well. So my name is Ryan Meekum, council member for District 1, which is 7 East and everything west, except I'm going to look over here at council member Stroud because Alice is going to tell me, oh, it's not true because she's got part of the north end of that as well. So we share a portion of that goes from 7th East and west. So thank you very much for being here. I'd like to introduce Mayor Zoltansky. Mayor.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming. Before we launch into this, I'm Mayor Zoltansky, and I just want to recognize we've got some of our dedicated council members here tonight and also some of our city leadership. So let's just do a quick introduction around the room, starting with you, Councilmember Earl.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Scott Earl. I represent District 4 of the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. And our council chair, Allison Stroud, is here, District 2. Okay. Councilmember Sharkey at large.
Cindy Sharkey, I'm citywide council.
And Councilmember D'Souza.
D'Souza representing all 4 districts as an at-large representative.
Okay, do we have any other electeds with us tonight? Okay, how's our volume online? Can folks hear us online or should we use the microphone? While we're checking on that, I'd also like to introduce our Sandy Fire Chief, Jeff Bassett, our new fire chief in Sandy. He's joined us just in December, December 2022. So he's our new fire chief and is making a big impact in our city. And we're going to hear about some of the fresh ideas tonight. Also with us, Chief Severson. Nobody puts Chief Severson in the corner. He's got the quick, quick release for quick exit. Needs it. And our city leadership, Shane.
Hi, I'm Shane Pace. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer.
Okay, Jared.
Jared, you're on the deputy.
Okay. And our other city staff are,
Yeah, and I'm Kimberly Bell, I'm the deputy mayor.
I'm Susan Wood. I'm the Public Affairs and Public Information Officer.
okay, and then our dedicated city council staff.
Justin Prado, I'm the council director.
Justin Swenson, Assistant Director for the council.
I'm Liz Terrio, I do policy and communication work for the council.
Okay, and I see Katie Atkinson is our new events coordinator. So you've got a great city presence, and then Mr. Cadell in the corner. You want to stand up and say?
I live on Main Street.
Generations.
Okay, so Tracy Cadell is also the attorney to the Sandy City Council. So with those introductions, then of course our firefighters here who are at the ready to serve. So let's give them an applause. Bit closer to the microphone. So I've been mayor now 14 months and a week. And one of the first things that I did when I took office was I met with our police chief and our fire chief and took stock of our city safety. The core function of local government is providing for public safety. Number 1 and number 1A are police and fire. So that's what we all think of when we talk about first responders and public safety. There's other important elements, as we've all seen this winter with our massive snow load. That's been great for our skiing in our mountains, but the new heroes in the city are our plow drivers and our public works employees and our parks employees who keep our city sidewalks and all our city facilities clear. And we've been so impressed with their loyal service to all of us, keeping our roads clear. They really are the first responders to the first responders. And I'm so grateful to everybody in police and fire who recognizes their contributions. So public safety. So the first thing that I did was take inventory of what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what can we do better in public safety? And I quickly learned that our fire department was in need of some investment and some vision and focus for our city, because our staffing was not good enough to provide the response time and the response effort that our residents deserve. And our facilities themselves are showing a lot of signs of aging. So working with our former chief, Bruce Klein, and our new chief, Jeff Bassett, we've moved priority number one in our capital facilities, it's Fire Station 31. We want to get the new fire station built for our residents. Why is it so important to have the right fire station in the right location at this time in Sandy? Well, we're sitting right in the middle of where the new growth in our city is going to occur. The Cairns District from 90th South to 106th South, between State Street and I-15. That's the site of our new high density, our new corporate headquarters, our new mixed use, or where residents are built on top of businesses, our taller buildings. So this facility, 1984 model, is not suited to the needs of a modern city. And so we've accelerated the planning and the vision for Fire Station 31, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So the chief is going to walk us through that planning and the staffing also. You've probably already heard about the change that we made in Sandy to go from 2 hands on a fire engine to 3. That happened last July. And you've probably heard a lot about the improvements that we've made in our safety, improving the response and the efficacy of our fire department because of the increased staffing. So you've seen the big fire engines. These aren't the little trucks. These are the big engines, 30, 40 feet long. To have a piece of equipment and apparatus out at a fire and a response with just 2 to manage it and run the scene, it's not enough. 3 isn't even enough, but it's moving us in the right direction as a city. So we moved to 3 hands on the engine last July, and immediately we saw the benefits, saving lives, increasing the on the ground operation, the response, the chain of command. It just made a huge difference. In fact, just days after made the change on a Friday, that very weekend, last July, our fire crews responded to a fire in Cottonwood Heights. There was a disabled woman trapped in her home, in her bedroom. She couldn't get out and the house fire was spreading fast. Our fire team arrived with 3 hands on the engine and 2 on the ambulance. They were able to go combat the fire, push back the flames, and get the woman out safely. She had a severe disability. If she had been jostled or had to be removed through the side of the house or through a window, it probably would have cost her life just being moved. She was very, very delicate. And because we arrived with the manpower on the scene that was needed, that saved her life. And she reached out to me as mayor a few days later and said, "Thank you, Mayor, but moreover, thanks you to the people of Sandy who recognize that this is the level of service our city needs." So it is because of all of you who contribute, who support our first responders and support administration and the city council and this important change, because what does it take to implement that change? Resources. It takes money, and it doesn't come cheap, and it's not easy. But because the people of Sandy support the decision, we've been able to establish this as the new normal moving forward in Sandy, and we're not going back to 2-handed. We're 3-handed on an engine, 2 on an ambulance, and that's the way it's going to be until we move it up at the next phase. But I just want to bring up that important change about the 3-2, we call it a 3-2 policy, so that all of you know that now when you have an incident in your home, a cardiac arrest, a fire, an emergency, building collapse, Our crews are gonna be better equipped to respond and move in and save lives, whether it's pushing back a fire or coordinating their response on the ground. And it's because of this important investment in the staffing. So the staffing is one very, very important component. And the next component is the future of Fire Station 31. So I will pass it over to Councilmember Meekum and Chief Bassett to give you a preview of what's to come and what the city's planning on for the rebuild of our new Fire Station 31, which is the main headquarters of our fire service in the main headquarters of our growing area of the city, the Karens District.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've asked Chief Bass to cover really two main topics, which is Fire Station 31 and the SAC in itself. So we want to talk about what's going on, why it's going on, what are some of the ramifications, what does that look like? So really, we're trying to reach out and make sure everybody has a very good feeling for what's happening in the city and what are the proposals that the council's talking about, so we can get decisions and move on. So Chief, turn it over to you.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
Let me just say, thank you, Councilmember Meekum. Thank you, Mayor Zoltansky, for putting this together, for bringing you all here tonight. I really appreciate our residents showing up. I love to be out with our residents and talk about the great needs that we have in the fire department globally. And specifically tonight, we're going to focus on Fire Station 31 that you have been aware of. And we're going to talk about what has been going on to look at the future site for our new headquarters. You're great. Okay, thank you. First, let's talk about our fire stations. Sandy City has 5 fire stations throughout the city. Station 31 is here at our headquarters. Station 31 was built in 1985. Station 32, located on Highland Drive, was built in 2007. So okay, 3 other fire stations. Station 33 was built in 1978, and it's located up on 2015 East and 11270 South. And then Station 34 is located on 7th East, built in 1993, and Station 35 built in 2001. All of our fire stations have specialty assignments. And for Sandy, Station 31, the assignment here is the ladder truck. So the difference is we have fire engines have hose. If they're a specialty, for example, 35, the engine is also our hazardous materials station. So they have a hazardous materials response. Here at 31s, we have a truck, meaning we have the big ladder that sits on top of the fire truck. And trucks vary between 100 and 110 in reach. And the requirement here is they're all trained on the truck operations. So when we go to a working fire, the truck is responsible to ventilate a structure or to create search and rescue efforts, get people out of elevated windows that are in distress. That's the responsibility of the truck assignment out of this station. And our future, as we look at the future of the station, we know that we will have a need for a new truck that needs to come to Sandy. And that truck is called a ladder tiller, which is a maneuverable truck to get us through our high density, tight spaces, mixed use. It creates the access that we need that our current ladder trucks simply don't have. As we look at the fire stations, we look globally, like what does this effect have on our residents? So you can see from these, from this diagram here, in the blue is a 1 mile buffer. So we look at fire stations. We want the stations to be between 2 and 2.5 in a radius. That provides the best coverage. And you can see on our map, here is station 31. And in our 2 mile radius, we're going, the new station, as we'll show, is just coming, right about here, just a few blocks away. So our coverage is still where it needs to be at the new site. That's important when we look at new sites. Are we going to lose response time? Are we going to do anything that would be more dangerous to our citizens? And we know that where we're going will work on location. So for you today, we're talking about the new fire station, and to give you a little bit of, just some identity on the map. This is the RSL soccer stadium here. And this is their parking lot here. And this is the Monroe Plaza Way as it comes off of 90th and comes down, and it dead ends right here. So this piece of land right here with this icon is where the new fire station will be located. This new Monroe Plaza Way will continue all the way through and connect to 9400 South. And what happens there is that gives us great access to 94th and to 90th to go east-west. It also gives us a response to the freeway. We receive a lot of freeway calls, car wrecks, car accidents, things of that nature. So this is the site here. And for the first time, Mayor, we're pleased to show everyone what our new stations will look like. So if Mayor want to
Unveiling, you are
unveil
the
the
first
very
to
first
see it here.
of our concept of the new Fire Station 31.
And we should mention that Monroe Street, the new Monroe Street is going to be constructed. That's starting to be built out this year. So it's not going to be the little stub lane that you see on this map. It's going to be an extension, the new Monroe Street. And so this will be frontage on our new Monroe. So here is the concept for the new Fire Station 31 that we're so proud to show you tonight. So take that in.
And then the other one too,
And
Mayor.
this is east facing.
East
here.
facing, yep, on the new Monroe Street.
And this is a view looking south.
Correct.
From Monroe Street. So this is the new Monroe Street. So this is the building, the structure. This is the future concept for the new Fire 31. So it's a lot bigger. It's a lot better. It's going to be a bigger, better design, a lot more flexibility to accommodate the type of equipment that our city needs, and also the housing for our fire personnel. And so the chief's going to talk about some of the features of the new fire station. You can see it's not a single story structure. It's going to be completely a new design for our city. And it's going to be designed for the future, the next 20 to 30 years and beyond.
Great, thank you. How exciting. This is a great night for us to unveil this to you. We have been working with our architects to create a concept, and basically what we're talking about is this is what the potential of the station would look like on this site. And again, when we do a headquarters, this is not only a fire operation, but it's administrative offices as well. So we're combining those two resources together. And from this picture here, we'll just talk, first of all, the fire station has 5 bays. Currently, we have several apparatus that sit in parking lots outside because we have nowhere to put them. We need additional space to park our emergency vehicles inside. And that's the reason why we're increasing the bay size. In this concept here, the upstairs above the bays, all of this area here is the living quarters or the fire station area. It's where all the firefighters will operate out of. And then this is a training tower that will be built into the building. When we talk about truck operations, we have a training facility over at Public Works, but this will also give us an opportunity to do rescues, rope rescue, elevator, truck operations right here. So we don't have a response time coming from the training station. We can do some light training here and be available for those calls. So we're going to incorporate some training space into the new fire station.
Chief Briglon, can you explain about the shifts and how the fire stations are staffed? It's not a 9-to-5 job, and talk about how the firefighters live. This is their home away from home.
Yeah, perfect. Our firefighters spend a third of their lives at the fire station. We basically run 5 homes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. Because our firefighters are called all day and all night to go to calls. So when we look at creating a fire station design, we want to create space, open space that allows them to have a place to, wind down or relax after a traumatic call. When we go on traumatic calls all the time. We go on calls that affect our firefighters physically and emotionally. And to be in a confined space, for our firefighters work 48 hours on, and then they have 96 hours off. A lot of our firefighters are working overtime And so we need to give them an area that is conducive to having a good lifestyle, a good work-life balance. And when we have a work balance, we provide a space that allows them not only to have areas to separate, but we have workout facilities, we have outdoor patio space that allows them just a different feel and a different environment and not being confined to a room. Most fire stations, older fire stations, this might be the size of a kitchen and a day room, which is considered a family room. And they have nowhere else to go but this space for 2 days. Now that's pretty tight. And so when we look at building new fire stations, we want additional space, open areas, to make it a good work environment. Again, they work a 48, 96-hour schedule. We have 3 platoons, and Station 31 is our busiest station. So they respond to the most calls throughout our entire district. On the other side of the tower, this side of the facility is the administration. And when we look at the fire station in designing, for example, at Fire Station 31, we currently operate 1 tower, 1 ladder truck. As we look to the future, we know that we're going to need a ladder and an engine and probably 2 more ambulances in the big picture as we move forward. So we will build the station for future growth, which allows us to grow when the city needs it. So we're not coming back to the city or back to our residents saying, well, we built the fire station too small, we got to do something additional, different. So we're going to build it so it has the capability to handle growth going down the road and for years to come.
You talked about some of our current fire stations and how we're facing that right now.
Our current fire stations, currently at Station 32 and 35, our most recent builds, they're too small. They cannot handle the staffing that we need today. Every fire station, besides Station 31, should have the capabilities to handle 6 on-duty firefighters, 4 on an engine and 2 on an ambulance. And our bedrooms, for example, at the Station 32 and 35, we only have 5 bedrooms. We have no outdoor space. We have no extra space for them to maybe get a break from each other. It's all confined into 1 restricted area. Station 33 and 34, Station 33 is a tilt up. So the downside of that, much like this building was built out of styrofoam, Station 33 is a tilt up. So it's prefab concrete that they tilt up. And that's how it's put together. So in an earthquake, what's that going to do? It's going to pancake, right? And if you talk to our firefighters who were there during the earthquake, they ran out of the building fearing what was going to happen. We can't allow that to happen. We have to be able to respond to the community and to the needs of our residents and provide a safe space for our firefighters to work. So Station 33 and Station 34 are 2 stations that we need to rebuild. And as we go forward, creating a vision and a path forward into the future, those 2 stations will be on our project list for new construction. And then Station 32 and 35, we need to remodel. We need to just spruce them, add a 6th bedroom when we're ready for it. And those stations will be ready to go. But at 33 and 34, especially Station 33 being a tilt up, those will be projects that we need to focus on tearing down and rebuilding. Okay?
Can you talk about why it's so important in the fire profession to offer a facility that is not just functional for the apparatus, and then the employees live in windowless bunks, but that it's important in order to maintain our workforce for recruitment and retention of what's going on in the Salt Lake Valley as a whole, what we're competing against. I think that
Sure.
merits discussion tonight.
Yeah, we in the fire service today, fire and police are facing staffing challenges. That's no different for any other city. When I started a really long time ago, it was hard to get a fire job. I was competing against probably 3,000 people for 5 positions. Today, if you have an EMT certification or a paramedic certification, we want to talk to you. And that's all the departments in the valley. Everyone is struggling to find people. So what cities are doing is they are looking at what do firefighters really need to give them a quality work life? And those are staffing, conditions of fire stations, conditions of apparatus, benefits, pay, all those things. And so we are losing firefighters today to adjoining cities who are building brand new fire stations, who are staffing four-handed, who are providing nice, open, airy buildings to allow for the mental wellness of their employees. All of our departments are facing a staffing shortage at the end of the day. But if we want to attract and keep our firefighters, which we need to do, those are the things that firefighters are looking for. Because again, think of that, a third of their lives are at the fire station. And if you think about, like at Station 34, this room is too big for where the kitchen is, the day room is, where they train to do company training. They do it in a space smaller than this room. And if you sat in this room for 48 hours, I mean, you'd go bonkers, you'd go crazy, right? Now they're going on calls and they're busy, but it's their only retrieve. It's their only place to go.
It translates, the recruitment and retention translates to service, because we want our fire officers and our police officers to be long haulers, experience, knowledge of the city, knowledge of neighborhoods, know where the potholes and the speed bumps are, know the shorthand, the colloquial descriptions for neighborhoods and parks. So there's no need to pull out a training manual when you get a call and say, where is that? So we benefit from that institutional knowledge and that longevity as residents. That increases our overall safety. So when we have fire staff that knows the city and knows where all the placement of the essential services are, where they should be, that makes us a safer city. So yes, it's nice to offer things for quality experience for your employees. Of course, we would want to do everything that we can afford, but it translates to actual safety.
Yeah, a big component of that is our firefighters, they're invested. They love Sandy. They love working here. And what we saw prior to my arrival, was 6 firefighters leave. They hit their breaking point. They weren't getting the staffing that they needed. They felt unsafe. Firefighters inherently have a risky job. We know that. But to enhance that risk, there's only so much a person can take before they look at another city who says, oh, we're doing four-handed staffing. We have brand new equipment. We have great air packs. We have good turnouts. You're going to have 2 sets of gear, offering all these benefits that help the overall welfare of our employees. The downside of that is when we lose those experienced people, I lose experienced firefighters or supervisors on the fire ground. So when we're actively involved in a fire, I need those well-educated, long-term employees who have the knowledge and the background. When we are working someone in a trauma or a cardiac arrest, we need quality paramedics who are trained with critical care paramedicine to provide the best support to our residents, because that's what our residents deserve. And that's what my employees, that's what our firefighters, that's what your firefighters deserve. They deserve to have that training. They deserve to have these quality buildings and provide that service and stay here in Sandy, providing that education, that experience. So when we go on those calls, we feel, yeah, we know what we're doing. We're providing that service, and our firefighters do outstanding work every day. And it's time that we give them what they need to do their job in a professional manner.
Chief, maybe along those lines, I think a lot of people think of the fire department as responding to fires and not really having an appreciation for the amount of medical calls that you field. So from the standpoint of, people might think, well, a fire is relatively, an uncommon event, but medical events are very common. And so that response time and that training you've been talking about. So maybe could you talk also about the medical side of the job as well as the, fire structure side of the job?
Great. So in the fire service, we have paramedics not only on our ambulances, but on our fire apparatus. And when you call 911, this is what takes place. You call 911, you tell them what you are having through a computer system, a program. It finds the closest unit to you. Doesn't matter what city it is, but they find the closest unit to you, and you receive that dispatch. The computer system, depending on what you say, So if you say, well, I think my husband's having a heart attack, you're going to get a paramedic ambulance and a paramedic fire truck. And they respond, and they may be coming from different locations, but you always get the closest one. Here's the thing about medicals. In a rising or a mixed use community where we have a lot of development that is going elevated, those create a lot of challenges for our employees. Think about this. Think about someone on the 3rd floor complex, and keep in mind, 3-story apartment complexes are not required to have elevators. So if I'm on the 3rd story and I've called because my husband, my spouse is having a heart attack, and our firefighters go up, they're taking the stretcher, they're taking their gear bags, everything up 3 flights of stairs. Now, depending on that person, we can maybe put you in a stair chair and take you down. But if we're doing CPR, trying to manage a cardiac event, to take that person down 3 levels, that means we're taking you down on a stretcher, elevated, down 3 flights of stairs. You can't do that with 2 people on an ambulance. You can't do that with 2 people on a fire truck. You need a 4-handed truck, engine, truck, and a 2-handed ambulance, and probably another rig to help manage that call. So the medicals take a lot. It depends on, are we going up? Are we elevated? Or do we have somebody trapped in a basement? A lot of times, people living in a basement, we got to take them up the stairs. That takes a lot of manpower. Think about this. When we do CPR, quality CPR, a person generally, according to all the AHA studies, you can only do CPR for 2 minutes, and then you have to rotate. Well, if there's only 2 people there, or only 3 people there, or 5, you don't have enough people. So what are we doing? Right? We're putting our employees at a higher risk, back injuries. Our people are going to go above and beyond to make sure they're providing the best care, because that's what firefighters do. That's what we do. We're in this job to take care of our residents. We're in this job to provide the absolute best care. But we have to have those tools and resources to do that without overloading or straining our employees, because they go on those calls nonstop, 48 hours straight. It's nonstop call line. Okay, good. These are great questions.
Like, I
Please.
have a request for comment. As a citizen, I didn't realize how much it cost the city each time we lost one of those firefighters for the training and the new turnouts and all the new equipment to bring somebody new in. Can you address that too? Because I think
Sure.
that really, ideally, lives are the most valuable, but as taxpayers, I was astounded at how much.
The
it costs
financial
us
burden
to
is,
firefighter.
just to bring a new employee in, a set of turnouts today is about $4,000. And turnouts are our fire gear that we wear into a fire. And generally speaking, you want 2 sets.
Each one is custom to the firefighter.
Each one is custom fit to a firefighter. We don't just give here you go and hope it fits, because they're going to get burned. They're going to get a steam burn, right? So each firefighter has custom fit. We have the city this fiscal year that we're still in last year, went out and said, okay, we're going to give 2 sets of PPE or the turnout gear to all of our firefighters. That plays a big role. Let me just pause right there. That is really important, because when our firefighters go into a fire, what are they in? Toxic smoke. And toxic smoke absorbs into their bunker gear, their turnout gear. We have insulation. We have chemicals burning from products that are on fire, couches, fires burn hotter and faster, and all that chemical gets absorbed into them. Now, with only 1 set of gear, that means they have to come back to the station and stay in that gear for the next 48 hours. Now we know why cancer is so high in firefighters. That's just one reason. Not having a good air pack, not having a good face mask with our air packs, outdated equipment. Those are all things that factor in. We just had an apartment fire over the weekend. We've ordered 2 sets of turnouts. We're waiting for them to come in. So our firefighters, we had an interesting dynamic there, is where that was the second day of one crew. So they fought that fire, 3 a.m. fire, covered in insulation, covered in smoke, came back, and a new crew came on. So all their gear is being washed. Here's the challenge. At Sandy Fire, I only have 2 washing machines to handle they're called extractors, to wash all of the gear for 16 people. That's gonna take a minute to get through all that. So we need that second set. So when they go on that call, they can get out of that gear and they can be in a new set of gear. It protects them. We're giving them the protection that they need. But to go back to what we were talking about, we're roughly about $8,000 in 2 sets of turnouts. When we hire somebody new, they go through a 15-week academy. And if they make it through that academy and they graduate, then we get them back. The academy's about $2,500, but the longevity, the nonstop medical training, the fire training will cost us $500,000 to $1 million, depending on the person that we will lose if we lose our experienced employees. So,
Not to mention just that employee, but that is the future of our department leadership. Those are our future captains,
Mhm.
battalion chiefs, our future chiefs. So you can say, well, somebody's been here 3 to 5 years, but they've come up in the program, all of that training. To lose an employee like that to a neighboring agency for the $10 more an hour, that is the wage is not the issue. It's the experience and the value and the cost of replacing that valued employee, not to mention the depth of service to the community. So everybody that wears this badge, they deserve the respect. They receive the respect, they feel it, but they earn it each and every day. And it is virtually irreplaceable. So when we had a deep loss in our personnel last summer, that was it. It was the three-handed policy was cited by the firefighters that left us. It was heart-wrenching to lose. These weren't beginners. This was mid-level future leadership of the department that took other positions. That hurt me as mayor. That's when we doubled down. We went to work. We figured out what was needed, what changes were needed. We made those changes immediately.
yeah, and those are changes that gets known in the fire service, right? Adjoining departments already know this. If I'm an adjoining department and we're working a fire, even a fire with nobody trapped, and I hear an engine coming from Sandy with only 2 people, if it was me, I'd say, why don't you just go back home? You don't have enough resources. You can't come in and be effective in what we're doing. So the three-handed policy throughout the valley, you'll find that depending on which department you work for, the minimum is 4, that some are at 3. We were the only department running two-handed. Nobody was.
So we've always enjoyed this reputation for professionalism and service and dedication, but it really has been on the backs of our firefighters that haven't been adequately supported with the resources, the work environment, and indeed the facility that they need, and that they deserve, that our residents deserve for the type of response our city needs. So this is some straight talk tonight, some very candid talk about the pressures on our city and the resources that we need to course correct. But we do have commitment from the highest level in the city, from our fire administration, from our city administration,
Sure.
from our city
Yeah.
council. That's why we're sharing this with you tonight. And we're not going to be the city that laments like, gosh, we wish we would have spent a little bit more to do it better. We are preparing, we found the path forward, we are moving forward, and we are moving forward now.
Thank you. Those are, it's great discussion. Let's go finish going through our concept designs. One thing I really like, I love history, and I think the history of a city and the history of a department has to be remembered. Because those who have worked before us, if we don't remember what they're doing, we have to honor them. We have to remember them. One thing that Sandy Fire does that I really like is that at our front doors, we have some granite out front. And all of our firefighters who have passed, just from whatever circumstance that may arise, they have their name engraven on our granite slabs out front. When we were working through this, I wanted a new memorial area. So one of the things that you'll see as we look in this design factor is this area here is a brand new firefighter memorial area. And it will be designed large enough to handle all of those members who are on the current and for our future and down the road. We'll also have a a standalone memorial for any line of duty deaths that would occur on the job. We will create that historic environment where anybody in the community can walk, and we will honor all of those members who have gone before us. It is a great location. It will be beautiful in design, and we will continue to honor those who have passed. The other thing that I really like that you'll see.
Show the turnouts. Sorry to interrupt
Oh.
you. I'd ask for a demonstration of what the
Come
turnouts
up.
and equipment is.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little show and tell. And one thing, this is all the turnout gear. Okay, why don't you go through? Give me a rundown.
Introductions.
Introduction, tell us your name.
Levi Weston, I'm a firefighter.
Okay, great.
So I always start off in the morning and I kind of just start at the bottom and go up to make sure I have all my stuff. This pack stinks like fire because it just came back from one, but so I start with my boots, make sure I got my boots, my pants, my coat, my gloves, my mask, my face mask, and then my helmet.
So in the gear, when he's wearing a Nomex hood, right, we have to wear, everything has to be no skin. Because when you put water on burning fire, what does it create? Hot burning steam. And that steam burn will cook them, right? So we have a Nomex hood, he wears Nomex gloves. He's wearing one of our air packs. Within the air pack, he looks at the gauge to determine how much air volume is going on. And he also has this infrared camera that he can look on as we're scanning for maybe people in a building, looking through smoke, all of those things. Now, can you smell the smoke? Now, you're all smelling that just from the minute he walked in. All of that is sitting contaminating our fire trucks. All of this is contaminating him as he stands today. We have one set of gear.
And the lifespan of turnout gear is.
The lifespan of turnout gear is 10 years. So every piece of this, for liability reasons, gets a stamped, even the uniforms that you see our firefighters working, all have seals and stamps of data service. The uniforms that we wear are really expensive because they're Nomex. They're fire resistant material. It's not a cotton, it's not a wool, it's standard Nomex. He has a
How much does
light,
it weigh? Which is the weight of all that gear?
so go ahead.
50 or 60 pounds.
So just in standard gear without the air pack, we're probably 40 to 50. Put an air pack on, we're maybe 70 to 80. He's gonna need a hose. And if we're going up to a high rise or elevated feature, he's gonna need a high rise pack, which is 100 feet of hose sitting on the back of his air pack or on his shoulder. If we're doing a life safety rescue, all of our firefighters, now think of this, maybe it's just these two doing the rescue alone to take out a person. They're laughing because they know it's crazy that we have to do that. It's so hard.
He would do it by himself like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a mustache. He's an animal. That's all there is to it. So, but this is what the gear looks like. And we don't have the capabilities to wash them as quickly as we need to wash and dry here at any of our stations. We don't have, and again, the second set's been ordered. But just think of that. In just a short time that he's been here, you're all smelling the contaminants of a fire that they were in. And
Freshly washed too.
freshly washed. So we get that odor from the turnouts, but we get it from the air pack as well.
We
It
took a look around.
instantly contaminates everything.
We took a look at what other agencies were doing and surveyed our own firefighters after we lost so many employees last summer. The most often mentioned request of what Sandy could do to step up is the second set of turnouts and improved uniform allowance. So that was something that's very real, tangible. We got to work on it right away, ordered them. Supply chain, they are coming, they are ordered. We've already.
Everyone's been sized and fitted.
So
We're just waiting for delivery.
it is on the way, but that was a big investment when each outfit costs $5,000. I mean, that's a good chunk. So the 3-2 staffing, the second set of turnouts and the station amenities, and the station locations themselves, those are prioritized because our firefighters are telling us this is what we need to do to remain competitive in Sandy. And we're seeing it all throughout. It's affirmed from every discussion with another chief, other battalion chiefs from other agencies, and everybody's recognizing that Sandy is on the move now they're making great steps forward for the future of our city. So very affirming to see these changes happening. And that's why we're sharing this with you in a town hall. And we're going to be doing more of this. And I'm so grateful to Councilmember Meekum for holding the first town hall of 2023 right here at Fire Station 31, because you ask me, there's no more important issue in the city going on right now than our firefighters, resources, and that build out of Fire Station 31.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Brian.
thank you. Yeah. He's not, the problem is if I told them if they're on TV, they gotta buy me ice cream. That's like the rule. And I'm exempt from that rule. All right, awesome. One other piece I wanted to draw to your attention to our concept design, again with history. Our antique fire truck is currently sitting in the Fire Museum in Grantsville. It needs to be here. It is history. It is part of Sandy City. So in our foyer, we will have our antique fire truck. That will be, when you walk into the foyer of the front of the fire station, you're going to see that fire truck that have served since the 1900s, this city. So that, I love that. And we will bring that home because it needs to be here, not out in Grantsville.
Yeah, and honoring our firefighters, the memorial and the symbols of our past, combined with the future, the way the station is being designed and built for our future growth. We're right at that pivotal point right now, and we have a great opportunity to combine the best of the past, learn from the lessons of the past, and build out for the needs of the future right here.
This is just the street view. Now we're looking north, back to the north. Again, on the second level above the garage bays will be where all the firefighters' quarters are. And then this is the back side of the fire station. We want drive-through bays. To take a 80-foot ladder truck and back it in makes no sense, right? It's too dangerous. Even an ambulance, I want the ambulance to drive through. So the bays where the fire trucks will be drive-through, and then we'll have one bay that we can double park ambulances or fire engines in to get them out of the outdoors that are currently sitting in parking lots outside. And then this is, again, a close-up of the memorial. This is we want to incorporate maybe some local art pieces. So that's what this design is. If we can incorporate some type of local community art. But again, we're looking at the memorial area from this site. And then just an aerial view. What you'll see on this back corner here is some outdoor capabilities for our firefighters, just to get a break to go outside. I mean, we all know what it's like, be in the sun, be outdoors, get some fresh air. Again, quality of life at the fire station, giving them what their abilities are. But it's a beautiful building. It will fit in to the Cairns District very well. And I think as we move forward, again, I get this question a lot. Well, it's concept. Now what is it? Well, this is where we're going. We just may change a couple things on the outside. We have our planning department that will go through it to make sure we're incorporating all the designs set forth in the district. But this is our fire station, and we're just excited. And yes, please.
Flat roofs and so forth. You know, with all the snow we've had and how heavy some of it is, we've lost trees around our house and stuff. Those are flat roofs. What are you doing to protect it from caving in?
Yeah, so on the smaller sections, we'll be looking at, the tilted roofs or the angled roof lines. On the large area over the fire station, the bays, we have to be really careful about snow load and snow drop. So if we have like a metal roof, for example, and it's pitched, we have to be very careful because this is going to be a long fall. And I don't want that snow hurting our firefighters or somebody maybe coming up to get help from the fire station during the winter. So those are all things that we'll be talking about. The way that what happens next is we will put out an RFP, a request for proposals, and we'll have architect firms bidding on the project. We will hire an architect, and then we will hire a contractor. And collectively, we bring them together all at once. And then we do the actual designing, engineering. What does it look like if we pitch the roof? What does it look like and it's very detailed. So I have those same concerns that you do, because flat roofs tend to leak. If we have a really quality vendor, contractor doing a flat roof, they are successful in the state. But we have to be very careful on the design, and that's why I built a lot of fire stations in my previous life. I always bring in the architect and the contractor immediately. So the contractor can tell the architect, yeah, when we build it, it doesn't work to your drawing. We have those discussions because we want those discussions up front, so it doesn't cost us more money down the road. So we get that plan in the beginning. It's something that we'll look at, but the challenge we have is the height and looking at how snow gets dispersed. How do we hold the snow that high up on the roof? Those are all things that we'll be working out. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
And the glass in case of an earthquake.
The
I love it.
glasses,
It's
again,
beautiful, but
yeah, it's beautiful. It's all rated. When we build fire stations under FEMA essential service buildings, they have very strict standards. And all those standards will be incorporated to what we're doing. So this will not be wood frame. Sometimes you see like wood frame construction, this will all be steel and metal to handle that shifting, that maneuverability. And it will all be built to the FEMA standards for essential service buildings.
Will you be considering maybe solar?
We have looked at solar, we've looked at LEED standards. We'll be evaluating all of those things to see what benefits they will have, not only to the building, but to our environment. So all of that is part of the engineering as we go through the engineering process of the building. Because when we have a lot of glass, we get the heat. Is that going to interfere with our HVAC systems? So many things tie to how the design goes. And that's why I bring our contractors in, because a lot of the times our architects are like, this is a beautiful building, and it is. And then the contractor comes in and says, well, if you do that, it's going to have a ripple effect on X, Y, and Z. So when we bring everyone together collectively, we'll have a very well designed building.
Well, he won't tell you this, but Chief Bassett's no stranger to building fire stations. Chief Bassett came from South Davis Metro Fire Department, where you built how many fire stations?
5.
So it's not his first rodeo, and he knows what's current in the building needs and design and construction. So we're very, very fortunate to have him at this moment in our city. So thank you for your leadership throughout this.
Thank you.
What do you guys think? Any feedback? Like it?
Please.
flagpole.
When's it supposed to be completed? I'm kind of missing a step here.
We've got a
When
ways
is
to go.
completion approximate?
We've got a ways to go. We've got to fully fund it. So that's the decision. Right now, the city council has committed $1 million to the design of the fire station. There's a proposal for the funding to be on the ballot there. So how it's going to be funded and to what extent, those are final details, but there is the momentum for Fire Station 31. A lot is going to be decided this budget season. So pay attention. May, when the mayor presents her budget, May and June, when the city tweaks the budget, and there's going to be progress on it this year. Now, that is my goal. My goal is to be celebrating Christmas dinner at our new Fire Station 31. I am absolutely focused on getting this built. This is going to happen. My first term in office as mayor, this is going to happen. We need it now. Do you have any other questions on the staffing or the needs of the building?
Yeah, Chief, were you able to go through everything you wanted to here?
Yep, unless, yeah, we can talk more. I can talk staffing all night. So,
Come on, have a seat. Let's, come on up.
okay.
Yeah, take a break and
Have a seat.
you guys heard about the apartment fire in Sandy on early Sunday morning at 3 a.m. I'm sure everybody heard about the fire on 1300 East. If you could plan a fire in our city, boy, were they ever lucky. Why were they so lucky? Because at 3 a.m., we had a police officer out on patrol on 1300 East in Sandy at her post, patrolling with her antenna up, watching, being able to identify anything irregular. It's our patrol officer who saw the flames, who called in the fire. A Sandy police officer, Stephanie Wilson. She immediately went in, called for backup. Our police officers started banging on the windows, rousing everyone at 3 a.m. Right next door is our fire station. I got the call literally over the fence. They could see the flames. So the hustle, the sequence of events that came together in minutes saved lives. There's 6 units on a section of an apartment building, 3 stories. And if it had been minutes later, or it had taken minutes longer to recognize the fire or the danger, the outcome would not have been saved. There were no lives lost. People emerged almost without injury. And that is an incredible, incredible outcome. Why? Because the heroism, coordination of our police and fire, but the resources that are put into play by the people of Sandy. It is a credit to our city that we have the equipment, the personnel in place when you need them. You could never plan a scenario like that to go as seamless as it did. It happened by sheer circumstance and serendipity, but thank God it did. Thank God our officer was on the scene. The police officers that came and roused everyone at 3 a.m. pounding on the doors. Can you imagine how hard it is to get a Waken apartment complex at 3 a.m.? They did it. They did it, and everyone got out safely.
Let me talk about staffing for a minute. Let me show a video.
Okay, so let's talk staffing, and then we
Okay.
want to open it up for questions. We want to save time, so there's question and answers, not just about fire service, but we've got Chief Severson here, we've got other members of the city staff here, so we want to address questions. And for those of you who are online, again, just remember to click hands up, and we want to save time for questions as we continue and wind down by 7:30.
I'll go quick. When we look at staffing, these are all the organizations who give us the standards. So when we talk about staffing in the fire industry, this is where we're getting our data. And when we look, go quick, all of these organizations, this is the result. 5-person companies are 100% effective. That means 5 people on a fire truck. They are 100% effective. 4-person companies are 65% effective. 3-person companies are 38. They don't even rate 2 because they are not effective whatsoever.
Which is what we were before
Which is
July.
what we were before. Now, I'm going to show you a video here. And I just want to talk, I'm going to show you this video twice. This first video is edited for the purpose of this discussion. Okay. Now, it's hard to see, but we have 2 firefighters right here. Now, I just want to play this scenario out with me. If we only had 2 firefighters on a fire truck, this one firefighter would be way back here on the engine to manage the pump, the water, the pressure, everything. So that means one firefighter is taking on this car fire all by themselves. When you watch this video play out, as they approach, as they approach this, I want you to watch the structure of our firefighters. As they lean into that fire, what they're doing is they're pulling that hose because there's a lot of pressure there. You just don't pull up to a car fire and put a little bit of water on it. There's a lot of pressure balance. So they're putting a lot of manpower and a lot of work into putting out this fire. Again, if we were 2-handed, this would be a 1-person operation, which makes no sense. Leaning into that, leaning in, very dangerous car fire. Because we have everything explodes. We have pictures, we have tires, parts, equipment, batteries, we have everything.
This is on I-15.
This is on I-15 last week. So if we show you now, why do we have so many firefighters? Because we have a 3-handed engine, but we also had a 2-handed ambulance. That's great sense. If we had a 4-handed engine, they could handle this all by themselves without the ambulance. What does that do? It frees up the ambulance for other calls in the city. But because our staffing is still below, we bring all that equipment because we don't need all the equipment. We need the manpower, please.
Chief, can you, let me play the devil's advocate here for a minute. Can you talk about how we cover each other's stations cover each other's calls and stuff like that. And, you know, mutual aid and how that all works in with this whole formula.
So about the auto response,
Yeah, auto response and, you know, station 31 coming and responding to a call that station 32 is on. And what happens when that all,
sure, yeah, again, all of our calls are done through AVL. So the closest unit goes. But as stations go out to calls, that leaves their area unattended, right? And so then station 31, maybe at going to 35s, if we had, let's take the apartment fire, and let's say station 35 was out. Well, this station, a UFA station, probably a South Jordan station, our other stations from the south would all be going across the city to go to that call. So we're constantly, every day, we're constantly moving, and we're constantly doing auto aid, which means we get a call maybe at the southern end of our city. We're gonna have Draper, Sandy, and maybe South Jordan all responding collectively, because that's what we have to do to handle the resource management to a call. In this example, you're gonna see we have enough firefighters. The key here is we have the firefighter at this engine. If we don't have the engineer, that's who drives the fire truck. If that person does not monitor that engine, meaning they don't watch the water go down as we're fighting a fire, when that pump runs out of water, what happens to that engine? It explodes. And we just lose an $800,000 engine.
so what happens when we have 3 calls going on all at once?
We have other cities taking those call volumes for us.
Right. The point I'm trying to get at, how often do we end up going outside our city to cover another city?
Every day, every day.
Do we have to compensate them? I mean,
No, it's part of we have agreements, signed agreements. Everybody helps each other, and we have specialties. For example, in Sandy, because of our staffing challenges and our budget constraints, we don't have the capabilities to do a large extrication. If somebody is trapped, let's say in a building, or maybe trapped in a manhole, we call other stations who have those capabilities to come in and help us. Much like they would call us if we had a wildland fire in South Jordan, we would send our wildland equipment to South Jordan to assist with that. So we're constantly helping each other. Now, as we go through this last video, you'll see, yes, please. We do not. We used to. Because of staffing and because of equipment. My goal is to bring those back. It's very important that we not only have, so our specialties in the city are paramedics, and we need a critical paramedic program here, is wildland, hazmat, and technical rescue, a heavy.
Is our wildlands, are they cross-trained for heavy, or we just don't have heavy at all?
We don't have heavy at all. So all the equipment that used to be, so a heavy rescue carries extrication equipment. It carries, when a car rolls over and is tip top like this, we have these long bars that we can put to hold that car so we can get the person out safely. They carry rope, they carry water rescue, they carry a maneuver of things to help you if you're trapped or you need out of a confined space. Some of those equipment were put on different engines throughout, and that's it. My plan is to bring those back because we need those specialties in our city to handle that need today and not wait for outside agencies to bring that resource to us. Yeah, great question. Thank you. And just real quick, as we'll play this, you'll see we have one engineer, one person at the engine. We have 2 people who are going to effect a rescue if these 2 people get trapped. This is our captain who's going to hold the skid and make sure it's going. Because when we're in this type of fire, we need someone to sit back and do some work. We have a threat coming. They look like they're okay because there's gas leaking out the back, and we're going to have a hazard in the back of the car that no one's watching. That's an effective attack on a car fire. You cannot do things with that. We have 3. We're great. And as the call volume increases, As the demand for specialties increases, we will be talking about four-handed engines, five-handed ladder trucks, looking at the need today and into the future of Sandy City. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you. Where's Ryan? Thank you.
Thanks, chief. I wonder what the insurance company's gonna do with that card. I wonder if it's gonna be totaled. Probably. So, as I said, we wanna honor your time, but also give you an opportunity to talk while you've got so many people here who could answer questions about what's going on, again, not just with fire, but you've got many city representatives here that can answer a lot of questions. So we want to open it up, make sure that you have an opportunity to answer, ask any question on your mind, and we'll also turn to our audience online. And so Dustin, if there's anything that you see any hands up, let us know, please.
Okay, so you said that your firemen and EMS and everything have to know where your potholes are. Okay, does that mean they rotate from 31 to 32, 35 to, so they know the area better? Or do they just stay here?
They rotate through, and as the promotion process works, I like to create pathways for our employees. So our employees want, how can I develop myself? So as you've seen, we have specialties at those stations. We want our employees to decide on one or multiple specialties. So we have well-trained, skilled people. And then they rotate around. They generally get assigned to a station and they'll stay there for a few years for that experience, for that knowledge base. And as the program develops, we'll want, for example, at the hazmat station, we want hazmat technicians there. So when we have a hazardous materials response, we have certified, qualified individuals responding to that. And we're handling that incident immediately. But, and they do move around, but they generally don't move shifts. So we have 3 platoons, A, B, and C. They generally stay assigned to that platoon. And then in that platoon, they can move around to the 5 stations. Yeah.
After Palestine in Ohio, do we have any kind of trains that go through Sandy with hazardous
sure.
materials?
I'd be more concerned what's on the freeway. Because what's going down the freeway every day is serious hazardous materials. Every day we have that hazard. So in Sandy, not only do we have the freeway, we have the rail. And what you saw in Ohio, could that affect us? Absolutely. We could see those.
But how do you know what's going through our city as they?
Right, it just goes on the railway. Now, for us, I mean, you have to have the capabilities to have a hazmat team that can respond to that. Something like that's going to reach a coordinated effort. Multiple agencies are going to respond to that with their teams, and there'll be a coordinated effort. What we look at is if that occurs in Sandy, that's our responsibility. We're going to have all the other agencies coming in, but at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of Sandy Fire to mitigate that. And we have to have the tools, the education, what our firefighters need, the resources to do that.
Do we have an engine that can distribute foam out on the freeway?
We have,
Chief, could you repeat the question for people online? I don't. think that
oh,
was-
the question was, do we have any engines that have foam? And so we have foam. We also have foam in what's called a Pro Pack, where we put it into the hose comes into a plastic bucket and we control the foam spread or the foam nozzle. And we use those on, liquid fires, gas fires, anything that water reacts with. One of the things that we're watching industry-wise to talk about that is electric cars or hoverboard batteries, your scooter batteries. All these things are creating challenges and problems. We're seeing in our network, when there's a car battery, an EV fire, it could take up to 140,000 gallons of water to put out a car fire. That's electrical volt. Now, that's going to create more hazards to our firefighters. It's going to create an environmental hazard when we have battery runoff. So we have to have the capabilities to capture all that. EV, electrical vehicles, is bringing a whole new dynamic to the fire service. It really is. And we have to make sure we stay up on those trends as that becomes the new normal in automobiles. Dustin.
Please.
We have a few questions online. First is Brooke Christensen has her hand raised. So Brooke, I'm going to allow you to begin speaking and you can go ahead and ask your question. Just remember to unmute yourself.
And thanks for joining, Brooke.
No problem. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, try again, Brooke. I think I might have.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hi. So, thank you for the information. All of this is great and we all want our, the safety for our firefighters, and we've been pushing for a long time to have more staffing, obviously. I've got a couple questions. What's the total cost estimate for the new fire station?
Right, that will depend on the final engineering and we're hearing, I've reached out to some contractors, we're hearing anywhere between $425 and $500 a square foot in today's market.
And so total cost?
Total cost, we're looking at today anywhere between 11 and 15 million.
Okay, and I heard bond for that on the ballot, so like a geo bond or a sales tax bond?
So great question. That's what's being discussed right now. There's the council, a majority of the council at the time that the conversation was going on was for a geo bond. And the mayor's putting together the proposed budget right now. And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this now, is to get this in front of the budget cycle so we can let the public know the conversation that's going on. So that's the current state. Great question.
Okay, and then ongoing costs of the 4 deep firefighters, what's the estimated annual cost for that?
For the increased staffing for the 8 new firefighters to continue the 3-hand policy is an additional $700,000 out of our general fund.
And what's the proposed money like coming from to pay for that?
Yeah, that's from our general funds. That'd be a combination of sales tax revenue, property tax.
So we think we have enough of an overage at this point in the city budget to pay for that?
So it's all being considered. It's all going to be part of this year's budget. So we haven't finalized the details yet, but they will be presenting a path forward, yes.
Okay, so just my personal thoughts on this. I think obviously we've talked about
Please.
moving fire station for a long time. I think it's the right thing to do. It's a good location down, I'm assuming down on Monroe where we own the land, or those are all good things. I'm concerned that we would consider bonding for this when we have so much of the money set aside that we're using for Alta Canyon. It seems like this is more of a need than a want of Alta Canyon, personal opinion. And I'm very concerned about how we pay for that additional money. I mean, it's been a minute since I've been in the budget, but I don't think we have an extra $700,000 for ongoing costs. So those are just my concerns. And I think that maybe to save some money, I would appreciate it being scaled back. We don't need the displays and the history, in my opinion, and all of those things. We just need a functional building. We've already got City Hall. So thank you. Those are my opinions.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks, Brooke.
Great to hear from you.
Yeah, very much. And I'll just add my portion of that as well. I also agree with the priority that you stated. I've been very vocal. I don't prioritize Alta Canyon over this, and I too would use the money that we have to fund Fire Station 31. So that's my perspective. Obviously, it takes 4 council members to make a decision, and we anticipate in this budget cycle we'll be making a lot of those decisions. So thanks for staying tuned, Brooke, and please continue to stay tuned.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
thank
I
you,
think that your thoughts on that and mine are pretty much the standard for District 1. I don't think a bond would be something that would pass in our district when we're spending that kind of money on Alta Canyon. Just something to be aware of.
Thank you.
There are a couple written comments. They are anonymous.
Okay.
The first one says, are we going to need to bond for this? Why are we spending money on Alta Canyon when this is a necessity?
Yeah, so whoever put that comment on there, I would agree with that. To me, this is a higher priority than Alta Canyon. And like I said, it takes, at least 4 council members and the mayor to make a decision on that. And that's the reason why we're talking about this right now. And there was one more, Dustin.
One more. It says, I live in historic Sandy and the station is moving farther away from us. Will you please speak to how the location was chosen and what that means for the areas in Sandy that will be affected by the move?
Great question.
So the location is property availability where we can acquire it, where it makes sense. And again, the future of Sandy's growth in the Cairns district, it's already planned and zoned for mixed use, high density, high rise. The modern needs of our growing city is in the Cairns district on the new Monroe Street. So that's the frontage. And the coverage for historic Sandy, the response time will not be depleted by changing this. In fact, probably enhance it. Just the physical proximity is not the only consideration on the quality of the response to historic Sandy.
Yeah, great points. And I would add, from the perspective of trying to envision what the city's going to look like 30 years from now, which is, part of our general planning that's going on right now. We're trying to take a look down the road and make a decision that's not going to impact just the way we are today, but the way that we're going to look 30 years down the road from now. So one question over here and then over.
I'm just wondering what will happen to this property. I know we have to have the money for that and that has to be finished before anything can happen here. But will there be any sale of this property that would kind of boost a budget somewhere down the line and kind of counteract the hit from?
So I think your instincts are right on. I'm just not prepared to lay out the course, but obviously we're looking at the value of this property to offset the costs of the new build, but I don't have anything hard or fast to announce or to convey, but I think your instincts are right
Yeah,
on.
it's like every resource that we possibly have that could be used to help pay
Yeah,
for something.
we are turning over the couch cushions. Originally, the Fire Station 31, when we talked about building it, is $12.5 million. So as every project in the city moves forward in this era with inflation, construction costs, there's going to be an increase. So if we move from 12.5 to 15, that is in line with the cost increases that we're experiencing across the board. It's just the new reality.
Excellent. Got a question over here?
Thanks. I appreciate the mayor bringing that up. If we're talking about a bond for a well-needed facility, might make sense as I see it. The chief touched on some of the needs, modernization of our other capital facilities in the fire department. Does it make sense to try to get ahead of some of that inflation and address that as a big picture item? Station 31 and the modernization of our capital assets as a whole, capture the inflating prices we have now rather than trying to come back to the well and bond experience, wait for it to expire or whatever, try to capture the big facing costs down the road. Is that, to me, that seems intuitive.
I like where you're going with that. We have a lot of needs in the city and the impacts of inflation. You're going to see how it's hit the city and our personal costs across the board. So the reality is we're just not able to do it all at once. In an ideal world, absolutely. But could we move forward? We want to move forward in a sensible plan where we're managing our resources, where we're stewards of the tax dollars that our residents are investing in our future. So can we do it all at once? Probably not this year. Would it make sense if you could just wrap it all and bundle it and create those efficiencies? But we are taking a very close look. We are, as I said, we're turning over the couch cushions to find any savings where we can apply the capital savings or a carryover budget to get this lift off and get this fast tracked. There's differing views. Councilmember Meekins addressed it. I don't want to speak for the city council members individually, but there are definitely different strategies on how we can pay for this and the court, how long it will take. to build this. So we don't have those details firmed up. But one thing that we all agree on is the importance of Fire Station 31, what it means to our overall safety in the city. And you've heard a lot about the realities that we're dealing with here tonight. So that's why we are here to share this with you. It's important to Councilmember Meekum. It's important to the chief. It's important to me and all the council members and our fire personnel that we share the new reality of what we're looking at. And I think I'm a believer that in Sandy, we want quality services. We want to take care of our employees because they're the ones who take care of us. So this is our effort to put the information out for you to deliberate and think about it. And then as we move forward in the budget process this year, please pay attention, come to city council meetings, participate in public comment, reach out to all of us and share your ideas, because together, even if we were critical of a point of view, we're going to get to a better solution when we work together, because we all want the same things. We want a safe, a well-run city that's taking very good care of our residents and very good care of the tax dollars that we hold on your behalf. That is our goal. That's why we're here tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. Well, we've got a few minutes, and I promise we do want to end this at 7:30. But the last time we had a District 1 meeting, we talked a lot about public safety. Chief Severson, if you could, for just a minute, talk to us about some of the progress you've been able to make, especially in historic Sandy and District 1 area. What experience you have.
Yeah, so as you know, a couple summers ago, we had a spate of shootings down in historic Sandy.
Hey, Chief, would you mind coming on this site? Sorry to interrupt you, just so that everybody online can hear.
There you go. So we had a spate of shootings down in historic Sandy during the summertime that was all related to gangs that were coming into Sandy. So we spent a lot of time. I did a couple of meetings where I talked about, we put together a gang task force. We put a detective into the Metro gang unit. I'm ecstatic to say that, knock on wood, we haven't had a shooting down there in a long time. So we identified the majority of those gang members and made lots of contacts with them, worked with the district attorney's office. And I'm proud to say that the majority of those individuals that were involved in those are either in juvenile hall or jail and facing charges. That's kind of the result of that. As you know, we always have a speeding issue here in Sandy. People will speed forever. Allison. What are you gonna do when your EV light's on fire? So, but we do have a speeding issue. We partnered with the mayor's office and the mayor to put together the Slow Down Sandy campaign, which has been hugely successful in educating people on the dangers of speeding through our neighborhoods and our streets. We have the council and the mayor's office helped us put together back our NTSP program, where those are actually shifts where officers can sign up and go out on the streets of historic. 8680 is a really big one, where we are there almost every day working on speed enforcement. That has come. This is more exposure on the street. With that, more officers on the street, the better. Chief Bassett talked about staffing issues. Happy to say that we are almost fully staffed in the police department, which puts more officers on the street, which has led to significant reductions in property crime, burglaries, vehicle thefts, regular thefts, package thefts, you name it. Those are all trending down. We've seen double-digit decreases in those crime rates in historic Sandy over the past year.
Excellent. Thank you. Last question. Sorry, let's go over here to Pat and then over here. We'll have two more and then we'll wrap up.
So is there a need for volunteers in the fire department for anything?
Volunteers are very, anymore, that type of service is dwindled just because of the amount of training and the education, the certifications that we have to keep, not only on the medical, but on the fire side. In today's environment, it's too challenging to manage a volunteer service. So it doesn't function very well.
I just thought, is there anything that the residents can do for you guys?
Like, can we come in and help clean?
Yeah, I was thinking,
You know, bring treat, I mean, just
What-
morale wise, what
You
can
can
we
always
do?
bring treats. They
Yeah.
love, we love treats, right? Yeah, it's awesome. And this is what makes Sandy so great, is this question, right? That question is what makes our Sandy so great. So I'll thank you for that, because that, when you reach out and say, what can we do to take care of our firefighters? I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Excellent. Last question over here. Mayor's got a couple of closing comments. I've got a
Okay.
couple of comments.
With drugs such an issue and fentanyl, you're hearing in the news all the time. Have we had a problem in this area? And if so, how are we protecting our police officers or even our firefighters?
With fentanyl,
Yeah.
so interesting, you won't want to hear this, but one of the first fentanyl labs in Utah was found in the Majestic Rockies Hotel.
Oh,
Which
my
is
God.
barely-
That's not a surprise at
Was
all.
barely, really, yeah. So,
Not a surprise at all.
and that was when fentanyl was first discovered and coming in from Mexico. Now it's, everybody knows about it, everybody's educated about it. The big thing with fentanyl is, you have to be a little bit more careful with it, but it's just like any other drug, right? You want to make sure that you don't, put it in your nose or on your tongue or anything like that. So you just treat it with a little bit more care. It's very dangerous to take it, but we do see it and we're working on it just like with everybody else, the partners with DEA.
Thanks, Chief. Mayor.
Thank you for your constituents, my constituents in District 1. We have 2 events this summer that are planned. We've just set the dates. The Picnic in Historic Sandy is June 14th. And that's going to be a burger burn for the Sandy residents. And Dawn Sidwell, who was here earlier, she's great about getting out the notices to the local communities. So check your email, social media, but you want to pencil in June 14th for the neighborhood picnic in Historic Sandy. And then we've also just set the date for the Heritage Festival in Historic Sandy. That's going to take place at Main Street Park on Saturday, September 16th. So that's the weekend after 9/11, after the Healing Fields. We won't be competing with those events this year. And we're going to have the Heritage Festival. We're looking at expanding that, making it a little bit larger event, and also bringing back the horse parade to the Heritage Festival, and great music by a local band you might have heard of, De Novo, Tracy's band, and classic rock. So we're looking forward to those 2 events that are Sandy specific. And speaking of events, 2 things I'd like to bring to your attention. The State of the City publication that came in your Sandy Journal, you can keep that by your telephone for references and resources. All our city departments explains who's in charge of what and how to contact all of us at the city. Also, we just put out the Mayor's State of the City address, so you can find that on YouTube, the mayor's page, and our city channels. And then we've worked up a really fun video that shows the heart of who we are as a city. I'm going to ask Dustin to cue that up, the Heart of the Wasatch video, if you haven't seen that video already. We talk a lot about the hard issues of delivering services, but who we are, we demonstrate that through our events and experiences that we're known for in Sandy. And so this is a little production of last year's year of review. Coming out of COVID, we were all hungry to reconnect live and in person. And we saw how meaningful having the neighborhood events, the small events, and then our big patriotic events, and having that range of activities that people can come out, from the Balloon Festival and the 4th of July, and all of that demonstrates our pride as a community, and it gives us a chance to meet our neighbors and show who we are and what we care about. So this is a video that we'll end our meeting with on a high note. The Heart of the Wasatch.
I've got a couple comments, then we'll hit the video. I just want to thank you for taking time to come here tonight. One thing that is for absolute certain is we're committed to making the city work. While we don't always agree on how best to do that, at the end of the day, we make decisions, we move on, and we really appreciate the interaction we have with our residents, because this wouldn't happen without you. This is why we do what we do. Even all of our fire service members, our police service, they enjoy serving. And we thank them. We thank you for being here. And with that, we'll conclude with the video, and thank you for coming.
Every day brings new light to help us on our way. Always taking my breath, whether sun or rain. The wind will carry us over. That horizon we see is getting closer. This is why we live for moments like this. This is why we live for moments like this, yeah. Moments like this, when the mountain calls and the river waits for what's to come, a dreamer's day. The wind will carry us over. That horizon we see is getting closer. This is why we live for moments like this. This is why we live for moments like this, yeah. Moments like this.
Remember Mika, that's what I think. We have- Closer look, come on up.
I love that disclosure.
Thank you.
Shut.
That's fine. I'm happy to do it. I
Thank
just thought rather than three of us holding on to it. it's fine.